PhD from Iloilo Science and Technology University, Miguel, Philippines. Welcome to this conference. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before we start, let me inform you about this parallel session. So, first speaker is Mr. Edsel's presentation as the invited speaker. And then after Mr. Edsel's presentation, there will be other 20 presentations with the duration about 6 to 10 minutes for each presenter. Most of them are played in the video. So during the presentation, please turn off or mute your microphone so that everything is clear. So, and if you have any questions like previous session, please type your questions on the chat box. And after every 5 presentations, there will be 15 minutes time for question and answer. So the presenters, please get ready for that. I will read the questions from the chat box and then you will answer it. And don't forget, if you want to ask a question, don't forget to mention to whom or which speaker you deliver your question to. Right, that is the rule of the game. Right, now let us proceed to our first agenda to have the presentation of our invited speaker, Mr. Edsel O. Coronado, PhD. He is the chair of Science Division, Iloilo Science and Technology University, Miguel Campus, Miguel, Iloilo, Philippines. Okay. Mr. Edsel will giving presentation about adapting to new normal, teachers' preparation, students' academic performance, and challenge encountered. For Mr. Edsel O. Coronado, PhD, the floor is yours. And to the operator, please take the role of playing the video. Thank you. Sorry, we still cannot hear the sound. Suaranya belum kedengaran, Mas.
Campus is in the municipality of Yagao.
Okay.
Hello everybody, I'm Dr. Edsel O. Coronado from Iloilo Science and Technology University, Yagao Campus, Philippines. So I am here, I am honored to be invited as one of the speakers for this international conference. Our institution is located at the heart of the Philippines, in Western Visayas, especially in the Panay Island, wherein the Iloilo province is located, and our campus is in the municipality of Yagao. Today, I am about to share our study entitled Adapting to the New Normal, Teachers' Preparation, Students' Academic Performance, and Challenges Encountered. So nowadays, there's a last 2020, there's a sudden shift of the educational system from traditional to online or modular mode of learning. So these particular approaches uh, were examined if teachers were really prepared, students perform properly, perform well, and what are the challenges encountered by both teachers and students in the implementation of the new approaches or in the transition from traditional to uh, virtual scenario. So sustainable development, we will start with the sustainable development programs. So the Philippines is very active in participating in different activities with regards to sustainable development, especially in the field of education. So through the years, the Philippines were able to develop programs in order to sustain different areas found in the SDG, most especially in the educational sector. So education for sustainable development in the better normal in the Philippine context. So the government initiatives in education are the following. First, they recognize the transformational potential of education technology, linking short-term measures with long-term reforms, locating education technology solutions in holistic framework, investing in capacity building to optimize education technology solutions, and mobilizing support to education sustainable development goals. So in basic education, these are the things that the Department of Education worked into. Starting with starting uh, uh, during the uh, uh, COVID-19 uh, uh, lockdowns, the basic education were able to plan these strategies. It's like they personalize learning opportunities, they introduce distance learning strategies. And the first step that they did in the time of pandemic is to make a basic learning continuity plan by having some consultative meetings, streamlining the curriculum, leveraging the ICT, and harnessing the educational technology that could be used as an alternative to face-to-face scenario. So the local government units were very supportive with the Department of Education and the Commission on Higher Education with in terms of the education of the children or the students. Okay. So in higher education, there is an approach where the Commission on Higher Education were trying to implement, and this is what we call the flexible learning approach, wherein it involves a combination of digital and non-digital technology. The CHED commissioners said it doesn't necessarily require internet connectivity. So universities and colleges have the freedom to choose what mode would be effective for them. Some have been using the pure online mode, some others pure modular, and there are those using a combination of the two. So in flexible learning, there are two modes of learning. We have the synchronous and asynchronous modes of learning, wherein the students can choose either synchronous or asynchronous or both. Okay. So the rationale or significance of our study is that it examines the scenario of this implementation of the flexible learning in the higher education. So the new normal has been announced and has already started in some contexts, but still it brings a lot of challenges, particularly in education and in teacher education. And these challenges is very important to examine for us to be prepared in the future challenges that we might encounter. So there are cases that it entails opportunities to restart or reform or restructure or reshape our education, our teacher education, and educational institutions. So with this study, the researchers were able to build solid research base on the current challenges in teaching and learning, most especially in our university and in our campus. With regards to the teacher preparation, in order for the delivery of a quality education, despite of having a pandemic, we should deliver a quality education to students. So research purpose and questions. The purpose of the study was examine the adaptation of flexible learning approach in terms of teachers' preparation. So that's academic performance and challenges encountered at ISAT Yagao campus for the first semester of the school year 2020-21. Because in the first semester of school year 2020-21, it was a semester wherein the flexible learning was first implemented. So these are the following questions, or 7 questions that we are trying to investigate or examine. And this study used the sequential exploratory mixed method design, wherein we do the survey first, and then after that, we did some in-depth interview. So the participants were determined using the Sylvan's formula. At the same time, the student participant were per program were and also teacher participant per program were identified also to be uh, uh, to be interviewed in an in-depth interview. So the researcher made instrument was used. It was also validated by experts, and at the same time, the final grades of the students at the end of the first semester were analyzed using the statistical tools. And the interview were transcribed. However, moreover, there were consent forms distributed before conducting the interview. So the results of the study showed that uh, when teachers were in teacher preparation, in the level of teacher preparation as a whole, it seems that the teacher were prepared. They were prepared. However, in the subcomponents, in course planning and time management, they were moderately prepared. In that case, there are something lacking on that part of teacher preparation. In every program, we have the VS Ed in our campus. It is highly prepared. While other programs are moderately prepared, and others are prepared during the implementation of flexible learning. In the students' academic performance, the students performed well during the implementation of flexible learning. So, in the significant difference in the level of teacher preparation, it shows that there is no significant difference in the teacher when taken as a whole. However, when you examine the subcomponents of the whole, you can see some significant difference in terms of technology access, core and course planning, and time management. Because in that subcomponents, some of the teachers are not quite knowledgeable in terms of using technology to access a platform. And in terms of course planning and time management, we they did not have enough time to finish well the course syllabus, or they need more time to make it uh, more have a good quality of syllabus, and also with instructions to be given to the students. So next, so the significant difference in the level of students' academic performance during the implementation of flexible learning, there was a significant difference. However, if you will look into the different programs, it has a different program. So different programs have different difficulties in terms of their subject matter. So there is really a significant difference in that case, since there are various degrees, various degree of difficulty of different subjects. However, they performed well during the implementation of flexible learning. Relationship between teacher preparation, student academic performance. There is no relationship between teacher preparation and student academic performance. It means that the teacher preparation is independent and also the student academic performance is independent. So if ever the teacher preparation goes high, it doesn't mean that the student's academic performance goes high also. However, there are factors that could affect also that students' academic performance based on the teacher preparation. Okay. So based on the interview, we were able to come up with the following themes. The students' preparation in flexible learning. These are the following preparations that they made by the students. They prepare for their load or mobile loads because most of the students in the Philippines use mobile phones rather than laptop, tablet, iPad, or desktop. Most of them use mobile phones because most of students can only afford mobile phones, and it's convenient and easy. And they prepared load instead their allowance were converted into mobile loads instead. Uh, Embracing the new normal, they were able to embrace it even in difficult times because they don't have choice. They need to embrace the new normal in teaching and learning. However, there are students' perception of teacher preparation during the implementation of flexible. They observe that their teachers were able to make them choices whether they can have a modular or whether they can have a online class. So next, you have a level of teacher preparation. They perceive that the level of teacher preparation, based on the student's perspective, that the teachers were prepared. The teachers were prepared. Okay. Based on the student's rating, there is a 7.82 mean, and his description is prepared. Even though their teachers were still adjusting in the new setup of teaching and learning, students still rated their teachers to be prepared. And we have here another one is a module preparation. We observed that teachers were uh, developing modules. It were arranged properly. However, there are parts in the module that the students cannot understand and still needs explanation through online classes, so or virtual classes. So for the students to be better understood the content of the module, the teacher could discuss it virtually rather than the students could solely rely on the module. So teaching strategies were also observed with the students that the teachers utilize the Facebook social learning group. Since our university were able to use the Facebook social learning group because most of our students have Facebook accounts. So it is very convenient for us to use a Facebook social learning group as a means or as a platform to deliver our lessons. And we we uploaded the modules, notes, activities in the Facebook social learning group. So it's a nice platform. Next, yeah, the students observe that the teachers are also considerate, uh, giving consideration to students in every outputs that they are submitting in this time of pandemic is it's very important because some of the students encountered some challenges, just like unstable internet connectivity. So the teachers were able to make some consideration with regards to the submission of your projects. So students' learning experiences during the implementation of flexible learning. Students' realization shape their learning. Along the way, while the implementation of flexible learning, students were able to realize based on their experiences and also their challenges during the implementation of flexible learning. They realize that and also learn from their realizations or experiences that they need to be patient, they need to motivate themselves, and they need also to have faith in God that everything will be okay and they will be safe, and also they could answer and learn from their modules. So uh, the students also have a teacher. The students were able to learn learnings that the teacher preparation helped build their learnings. So teacher preparation plays a vital role in students' learning. Teachers that are prepared enable students to develop their understanding of the topic by motivating them to explore more rather than in the module, rely on the module, but explore more on the internet. Okay, students also learn a lot from their teachers virtually. So students appreciate more when the teachers are well prepared because they learn a lot from them. So perceived experiences of students in assessment. Assessment is one of the major challenge nowadays in the educational system. Whether we question the assessment that are we uh, is our assessment or exams reliable? Is it accurate? Is it something like that? However, the students perceive the assessment of the strategies of the teachers that they conduct. Most of the teachers conduct their exams or quizzes through a series of platforms, just like Google Form, Nearpod, sometimes in the form of a game, just like Nearpod, Kahoot, wherein the teachers will conduct their quizzes, activities, and exams. Disadvantages of online assessment based on the student's point of view. They said that some of them observe uh, some of these disadvantages are unstable internet connectivity, and then objective tests are easy to answer and get a perfect score. Why did they say that objective tests are easy to answer? Because they perceive that objective test is prone to cheating. They could really make some ways in order to cheat. That's the reason why they perceive that the disadvantage of online assessment in terms of using an objective test. So they preferred in order to be fair, they preferred to have an authentic type of assessment. According to them, they preferred to have because it is fair in such a way that uh, the teacher could use a rubric in order to gauge the learnings of the students and the performance of the students based on the rubric. So it is fair for them compared to having an objective type test. That's why for them it's very important to have a performance based exam or test rather than an objective type of examination. So the challenges that they encounter during the implementation of flexible learning, we have the internet connectivity issues, very common to all students in the Philippines. Uh, Unavailability of tools and insufficient discussion of modules online, wherein some of the students have no cell phones, have no laptop. The tendency is they borrow some tools from their neighbor, from their relatives, from their family, from their brother or sister or parents in order to participate in online classes or communicate to teachers for more updates with regards to their subjects. And they adapt a new way of learning. So students are struggling to adapt the new ways of teaching and learning. However, they were able to surpass it. They experience also stress of students in different situations right now are very important to consider because sometimes there are cases that too much stress for students at home could lead to mental health issues, could lead to uh, some health problems at home. The sometimes some students experience also lack of family support, but not all. Only a few of them experience lack of family support. Family is support is very important and vital also for the continuation of student learning at home. Home distractions in learning, one of the challenges encountered with the students. At home, they were able to do their activities, they were having their online class. Sometimes their parents are distracting them. Aside from their parents, some noise outside of their home. Vehicles are passing by, and then sometimes their parents will call them uh, unconsciously that they didn't know their child is having an online class. Sometimes they were disturbed. So that's the reason why at home. But other students were able to go to somewhere else where is more silent in order to participate in an online class that no one will be distracted or disturb them. Student ways to cope up challenges encountered in flexible learning. So they made some ways in order to connect online. Just like as what I've said a while ago, they borrowed mobile phones for their brother or sister or relatives. They go to their relatives to connect for the internet because in their relatives they have a high level, have a stable internet connection. So those are the things that they were able to do in order to connect online. They compiled also their activities and have some time management and ways to cope up with assessment. They were also struggling with assessment. However, especially if their teacher have some exams which has a time limit, they are struggling with it. However, they were able to cope up. So ways to cope up with task and stress. Uh, they cope it up with such activities at home, just like gardening, playing, um, doing some chores at home. They are watching movies or watching TV series. So they were able to cope up at home. So self-motivation and peer support, one of the coping mechanism that they did, they motivate themselves in order to pursue the objectives or finish the task given to them. And their peers were also supportive to them, helping each other. Actually, students were having teamworks in order to finish such a task, even they are far away from each other. Student suggestions in teacher preparation that the teacher should reach out to students more often and being considerate more often and gives a specific criteria or rubric to outputs. Deadline should be put in every activity and strengthen the continuity education plan. Creating webinars about online platforms to be used. Our students should need orientation to the online the platforms that they will use in a semester. It's very important to consider the orientation process. So teachers' preparation experiences in flexible learning, you have webinars, trainings, and workshops attended. They congest the curriculum and syllabus, online platforms use, module making, and teaching preparation to students' academic performance. They affirm that the teaching preparation contributes to students' academic performance, and they also have a learning materials preparation, need extra time and resources. They need uh, extra time and resource to do the preparation. University support to teachers in flexible learning. They do also trainings and workshops. Load subsidy. The university were able to give load subsidy to the internet bills of the teachers at home, because most of the time the teachers are working at home. So the benefits that the teachers, uh, not all in the Philippines, but this is only true in our university. The university gave us some load subsidy and module and online platform. They gave full support in development of the modules. Delivery of teaching and learning and flexible learning. Teaching delivery were implemented as what I've said in the Facebook social learning group, but the teachers were experiencing also some difficulties in the delivery of their lessons. Teachers assessment and flexible learning. Their strategies they have different strategies as what I've said a while ago. They use Kahoot, Nearpod, Google Form, ZipGrade. ZipGrade were also used. Accuracy and reliability of assessment. Teachers would say that assessment during the implementation of flexible is not accurate and quite reliable, especially when objective tests was given to the students. This is based on the perception of the teachers with regards to the accuracy and reliability of assessment online. Challenges encountered by teachers in flexible learning. They have a hard time to convince students to join the online platform because some of the students have no internet connection. However, most of the students attended class online compared to the students who chose to have modular learning. So internet connectivity was also an issue, online classes delivery, development of modules, time spent in checking activities and exams online. Stress encountered were also coping strategies of teachers in flexible learning. They were able to embrace the new normal, discipline and have time management, finding ways to conduct laboratory activities, not giving deadlines to students, and coping with stress. Teachers also suggest in preparation to flexible learning that hands-on training on the basics in software application for online learning, intensifying the information dissemination about flexible learning, dialogue with teachers and students, they are very important. Early release of teaching notes. Conclusion, despite teachers' difficulties in adopting the new teaching and learning methods, student academic performance was good, very good, which indicates that teachers' efforts to deliver the lesson activities to their students through an asynchronous or synchronous mode of learning were implemented well. So moreover, teachers were able to adapt well to the new normal. So there was no statistically significant difference taken as a whole in the teacher preparation. However, when you look into the teaching technology access and course planning, there are some flaws there that needs to be addressed by the university. One of the factors that is some of the faculty members are unequipped with technological knowledge, especially the use of basic applications in a computer and the utilization of internet platforms that could be used for online classes. So in students' academic performance, there was a significant difference. However, it is due to different programs with have a different subjects also. So despite of the pandemic, students could perform well in class, whether in asynchronous or synchronous learning mode. The pandemic does not hinder their determination and perseverance to continue their education and finish their course degree. So teacher preparation does not also correlate with students' academic performance when taken as a whole. So teacher preparation and students' academic performance are independent of each other. Okay. So students encountered so many challenges as what I have mentioned, and also teachers also. So the study will serve as a feedback to the university with regards to the teacher preparation of the university faculties. Uh, the researchers were hoping that this research would help the university At the same time, present as significant experiences among the key officials. Lastly, these issues would serve as a springboard to the next generation of researchers and investigate more profound teacher preparation experiences of student academic performance in flexible learning approach using other mixed method design. So these are my references. Thank you very much and for listening.
Excuse me, ma'am. I think your audio is off. You are muted. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I just said that it is very interesting to know the situation in Philippines, and then I think that in every part of the world now we are struggling with the new situation, new pandemic era, and we are so trying to cope with the problem in every country. And then we have also the same situation here. And from what I can see from your presentation, there are many problems also. There is the same connection problem, preparation level of the teachers, and then unavailability of tools of students, because not every students have available tools, and then also problem with assessment, stress, and so on. But like what the results shows, that we have to embrace with this new situation, new normal, discipline, and also always trying to do our best and trying to find way to cope with the problem. Thank you very much for the sharing. And if you have some remarks or addition, please, the floor is yours.
So, okay. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Um, Nowadays, we are still finding ways in order to cope up those challenges. Because the number one problem here in the Philippines is really the internet connectivity. So we cannot fully implement well other plans in terms of especially in the basic education. Now, actually nowadays in the basic education in the Philippines, they are especially in the public school, they are implementing a modular approach because not all of the students or the pupils, especially the families, have internet connection. So that's the reason why we are really struggling. However, in the private schools, since families in students in the private schools are quite in terms of family support are well, in the private schools they were able to implement virtual learning or any. Sometimes they called it as a mix of they called it a blended learning approach. However, in the university, there is only one approach that that the Commission of Higher Education are emphasizing and trying to endorse, and that is what they call flexible learning. Actually, on the first implementation, the students were still struggling. They were complaining. We cannot connect. We cannot do that. We cannot understand. However, we were along the way, the students were able to realize that they need to embrace the situation because we also teachers are also struggling on what way we could really impart or deliver our lessons. We were able to decongest the original syllabus, the original topics in the face to face. We were able to decongest it, just only taking the essential subjects that needed for the students to learn, because not all topics in the original syllabus in the face-to-face scenario we could deliver in the virtual learning, because aside from that, there are limited resources that are found in the internet. Sometimes we need to improvise our skills of innovations or creativity emerges during this situation that we need to find some ways in order to deliver well our, especially in science. I really we also a problem in the, especially in science laboratory, right? Some of the subjects some of the laboratory subjects could not be implemented well virtually, but rather we encourage our students to perform it at home. Especially in my subject, I am actually teaching physics in the higher education. What I do in laboratory in physics, I encourage students to find I called it as a home-based uh, laboratory activity wherein whatever it is what we call contextualized. Whatever materials that can be found at home that that are common, that can be used as a tool to implement such physics activity in a simple way. Don't make it complicated because we students have no micrometer, students have no caliper at home, so we need to improvise, we need to simplify the activities that the students could eventually learn at home, even though they have no internet. If it is modular, uh, it's okay for students of internet. However, in the students of are doing modular, they could conduct it. However, sometimes we question the reliability. Who answered the module? Is it really the students? That's a big challenge for us, diba? Right? If the students would choose modular, they are doing it at home. How if they do not have internet, how could that is one of the big challenge that we are facing right now in the Philippines. Are they really the one uh, answering the module? That's a big challenge. However, um, we are it's very difficult for us also teachers to have a home to home visit because at this time of pandemic, especially that this time we are not allowed to go from home to home because of the COVID-19. Especially in our province right now, we are experiencing an enhanced community quarantine. So it's very strict right now. Aside from other provinces in the Philippines that they are now quite lax, but however they are implementing restrictions in their own provinces. So those are the big challenges that we need to cope up. However, sometimes we could say that we have no choice. What will we do? So um, for me, I think we need to embrace whatever learnings that they impart, the students will impart on the module. Uh, some I don't know if there are something from the participants that we're able to share also on what would some ways that we could address with that. But we need to embrace those things that until we have what we call herd immunity with the virus, right? We are also trying to reach to that. So in terms of education, we need to embrace the situation, right? I also emphasize to my students that uh, no matter what the situation is, you need to be determined. You need to motivate yourself to learn because nowadays students in the higher education, especially in SUC, are trying to do two things. They are uh, taking advantage of the situation of having a part-time job while doing an online class. So sometimes they complain that they are tired. So we advise them that uh, you need to continue your education. You need not to stop. So you need to embrace the situation. So be thankful that we are still healthy or alive right now. So no, those are the things that I wanted to share. But I would like to thank this opportunity to be here with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We are struggling all with this, and then whether we like it or not, we have to embrace
Yes.
it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Edsel. And now we will come to the next part of our presentations. There is the presentation from the 20 presenters from Indonesia. And then I would like to invite the first 5 presenters. Number 1 is from Muhammad Azhar, Ina Kusuma Aryani, and Wahyudin. And number 2, Ratniati Ana Andriani. Number 3, Dwi Ana Astuti and King Kinarti. Number 4, Etin Agustini, Ine Kusuma Aryani, Retno Purwaningsih, Mega Permatasari, and Widyanti. And number 5, from Ekawati, Sri Handayani, Fadila, and Tukiran. So for Mr. Lukni, the operator, the turn is yours. Thank you. And have a nice watching. Okay, we are still waiting from Mr. Lukni. So for the information also, most of the presenters here are also from the teachers of basic educations. There are teachers from Wonosobo, Purbalingga, and then SDN 1 Pajerukan, and also from Cilacap. Yeah, I'm also from Cilacap. And then there are many also. Yeah, okay, Jeruk Legi, Sidan Negeri Cilacap. Oh, most of them are from Cilacap. Welcome to this photo. Oh, wait. Okay. All right. There some what is that? Okay, this is start.
Hello everyone, my name is Muhammad Azhar, and today I am going to talk about improving the value of democracy in IPS learning through value clarification technique or VCT in Muhammad Dia Sudagaran Elementary School. Going to give a presentation on going to share about improving the value of democracy in IPS learning through value clarification technique or VCT in Muhammad Dia Sudagaran Elementary School. The presentation will be in the first introduction. Best social studies learning through a VCT approach in an effort to increase student. Still many students who do not understand democracy value, which in the end students don't have a democracy attitude. Value in a democratic character include freedom, opinion, group, participation, respect for other people or group, equality, cooperation, competition, and trust. Therefore, efforts are needed in shaping students' democratic attitude in social studies subject. One of the practical learning models as an alternative is the value clarification technique or VCT model. Second, method. This study also used an experimental research design. This research includes quantitative research, so all symptoms are observed, measured, and analyzed using statistical analysis technique. This type of research is a quasi-experimental, non-equivalent control group design type. Third, result. The implementation of the state of the value clarification technique or VCT model carried out by the teacher was analyzed using data from observation made by the observer using an observation format to implement the value clarification technique or VCT model. The success of the VCT learning model in the experimental class has a positive influence on student democratic values because students are easier to understand the material and students are actively involved in learning. Next, the implementation of learning in the control class, which use the lecture method so that students learn to be passive. The VCT model can also train students to dare to express their opinions on the choice they have chosen. 4. Discussion. The success of the VCT model in social studies learning in the experimental class has a positive influence on the democratic value of the 5th grade students. VCT model can also train students to dare to express their opinion on the choice they have chosen. The next, conclusion. It shows that there is a significant influence on students' democratic values. This is evidenced by the calculate t-value in the final democratic value of the experimental class and control class, which is 50137, which is greater than the t-table at of 37 with a significance level of 0.05, which is 2.02619, and the significance value of 0.024 is smaller than the 5% significance level. In conclusion, the VCT model affects the democratic value of students in social studies subject in class 5th grade SD Muhammadiyah Sudagaran, Wonosobo. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for the team of Pak Muhammad Azhar. And then we go to the next from the Ibu Ratmiati and Ibu Ana Andriani.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everybody. My name is Ratmiati SD. I am from University of Muhammadiyah Purwokerto, Central Java, Indonesia. And I am going to talk about implementation of character education on efforts to prevent moral decadence as 6 students SD Negeri 1 Kaligondang Purbalingga, Central Java. Education in school determines the future of students and the culture that is absorbed there becomes the basis for the formation of further character. Fostering character is not now with words alone, but needs a real implementation. Examples from household approaches, especially by teachers, especially civics teacher. A conducive school environment, calm, safe atmosphere, and full of religious and cultural values, such as good examples that reflect the noble values of peace, characteristics, warmth, empathy, and so on are steps to develop character education. Problem in Problem identification. Number one, what is the role of civic teacher in the implementation of character education in efforts to prevent students moral decadency at SD Negeri 1 Percekali Gondang Purbalingga? Now, what is the approach or learning methods for character education used by civics teacher in an effort to prevent student moral decadency at SD Negeri 1 Percekali Gondang Purbalingga? Number 3. What are the solutions to problems faced by civics teacher in the process of implementing character education in an effort to prevent student moral decadency at SD Negeri 1 Bercekali Gondang Purbalingga? Little review. A Greek philosopher named Aristotle, as quoted by Licona, defines good character as life by doing right action in respect of oneself and others. Research method. The method used in this research is correlation descriptive methods using quantitative approaches, which describes the relationship between character education and effort to prevent student moral decadency. Discussion. The role of civics or classroom teacher. Moral decadency is a deterioration, defensive in student moral, which begins with activities of violating discipline, lack of discipline, lack of respect for teacher and present. The approach or character education. A various learning approach pattern is needed so that students do not quickly feel bored or bored in learning, so that if the learning feels bored, it will make it difficult for the teacher to apply that character education process. Solution to problems. Number one, able to present learning material in an attractive manner so that it attracts students interest to learn and understand it. 4. The use of a variety and varied learning media. 3. Visualization learning a process, role playing, various discussion with group learning patterns. Soul activity programs. Number one, getting used to attitudes and behaviors in accordance with the teachings of noble character. Number two, carrying out religious worship. Three, carry out activities to commemorate religious holidays. Consul, con, consul, consultation. The approach or methods or of learning the teacher education process or character used by civic teacher or classroom teacher in effort to prevent student moral degradation at accidentally one project is fired, such as when visualizing the parents of picture and photos related to behavior good students. Number two, discussion with cooperative learning. Number three, role playing process. Number four, the story is not finished or the story is contradicting powers. So the students can express the appropriate knowledge according to the values, the basis of life. Solutions to problems faced by class teacher of civics teacher in the process or character education or character in effort to prevent student moral decadency at extended one project encouraging one the use of appropriate and varied learning media. Number two, presentation of appropriate learning materials, attracting students interested in learning. Three, varied process for personal process with students who began to show usually symptom. 5. Coordinating with teachers of other subjects. Homeroom teacher and PK for PP teacher. Okay, thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for Bu Ratmiati and Bu Ana Andriani. And we will go straight to the third presentation from Ibu Dwi Ana Astuti and Ibu Kinkinati with the effect of e-learning on motivation and learning achievement of class 6 students of SDN 1 Panjerukan. This is about the COVID-19 pandemic era. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, class. First, we want to thank you all for your presence in this class and today's presentation. Before we begin, let me introduce myself. My name is Katwiana Stuti Kinkinarti from Universitas Muhammadiyah Purwokerto. So, we realize that not everyone knows and have been wondering about what is and how PC media games. Extraordinary, isn't it? How can this be? That's why we're here today to tell you what is it and all you right want to know about it. Let's start with how it began. The effect of PC media games in increasing student activity of the COVID-19 pandemic. Background of the study. The COVID-19 pandemic situation made teachers to have to think hard to increase student activity with interactive method through online learning. Objective of the study aimed to determine the increasing in learning activity in online learning through the media game quiz. Research method. This research is classroom action research. Population ensemble. Population 16 grade student of the State Elementary School 1 Pajarukan. Sample. The research subject of the study is 23 students. Technique of data collection. The data collection instrument was an observation set for the application of the online learning process through the educational game quiz, while the data analytics technique use qualitative descriptive analysis technique and use achievement criteria. Discussion. PC educational game media can increase student activity in the prevention of the spread of COVID-19. Science subject because in its implementation, it seemed to bring multi-game activity and make learning more interactive and fun so that each student can master games that are giving knowledge that have an impact on the result study. Although not 100% of class 6 students have done online learning, yet because there are several obstacles that need to be resolved by collaboration between school, parents, committee, relevant agency, and stakeholder. Through the experimental method, students can conduct observation, design tool and material, as well as communicate experimental results. Conclusion. After the online implementation through the educational game PC media in one cycle, 56.48% of the 23 students were homogeneous active students, while the second cycle obtained an average of 73.9% homogeneous. So, the quasi-educational games media in online learning can increase student activity during the prevention of the spread of COVID-19 for a class 6 social study subject by 70.41% on the background of the problem and the result of research. It can be seen that the use of experimental media in science learning can be a solution to improve science process skill and student achievement in class 6. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bu Kinarti Dwi Ana Astuti. And then we go to number 4, the fourth presentation from Bu Etin Agustini, Bu Ine Kusuma Aryani, Bu Retno Purwaningsi, Bu Mega Permatasari, and Bu Widianti.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for the time. Introduce myself. I'm Etin Agustini from Magister Education of Muhammadiyah University Purwokerto. I would like to present my article with the title Development of Safi Learning Model Based on Multicultural to Increase Tolerance of Students at SD Negeri Kumilir 06 Cilacap. For introduction, based on Indonesia provides education guarantees according to Article 31 of the 1945 Constitution of the Republic of Indonesia and Law number 20 of 2003. The purpose of the learning process carried out by the teacher is for students to experience changes in behavior, changes in understanding, skills, and attitudes. So it is important to be tolerant in human life. And the value system that applies in Indonesia is Pancasila. Likewise, the values of multiculturalism are embodied in the motto Bhinneka Tunggal Ika. Structured learning must contain and reflect multicultural cultural values. Based on Streeter and Grant, 1988, multicultural learning is a policy in educational practice in recognizing, accepting, and affirming human differences and equality associated with gender, race, and class. On November 2, 2020, I interviewed and observation my students, and the result, only 13 students had tolerant character. So it proves that the tolerance character of my students is still lacking. It takes a fun learning approach that can increase tolerance based on multiculturalism. There are 6 study objectives. The first, describe the initial conditions before the Safi learning model is applied. The second, design a multicultural-based Safi learning model development. The third, now the implementation of learning. The fourth, determine the effectiveness of using the multicultural-based Safi learning model. The fifth, describe disadvantages and disadvantages. And the last, now the supporting and inhibiting factors of development of a multicultural-based Safi learning model. Okay, now about the method. In my research, I used R&D method, and there are 3 steps. The first, planning. In the planning, there are best competence, formulating learning objective, material planning lesson plans, student worksheet, and evaluation tools. Second, implementation. In implementation, there are small group implementation of lesson plans, media, student worksheet, evaluation tools, then revision. And the last, evaluation. In evaluation, I have 4 classes, 2 experimental class, 2 control class, and evaluate and be a product. For the development model, I adopt from work and goal. And there's 10 steps. The first, collecting receipts and information, until the last, disseminating and implementing. Now, result and discussion. The result of the overall lesson plan assessment by the validator based on the aspect of the objectives, content, language, and time are presented in Figure 1. Lecturer give 4 in the objectives, give 5 in content and language, and give 4.5 in time. Teacher give 5 in the objectives, language, and time, and give 4.66 in content. Friends give 5 in the objectives, language, and times, and give 4.5 in content. The lesson plans made by researchers as a whole are in a very good category, and there are some notes or inputs so that the lesson plans used are better. Based off the data, the number of results more 3, so the result is very good. It means the multicultural-based SAFI model can be used in the learning process. After I give a questionnaire, the result of the multicultural-based SAFI learning model can facilitate students in increasing tolerance. It is known that the significant value 0 less than 0.05. So it can be concluded the average value of tolerance in the control class and the experimental class is significantly different. This proves that there is difference in result between the experimental class, the class that is given action on the learning process using the multicultural-based SAFI model with the usual conventional learning process. And the last conclusion of my article. The feasibility assessment of the multicultural-based SAFI model is suitable for learning because, according to expert judgment, it is in the category of very good. And according to the assessment of class teachers and peers in the category of very good. Multicultural-based SAFI learning is able to increase the tolerance attitude of students. This can be seen from the difference in the average value of tolerance in the experimental class and the control class. Okay, that's all. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Bu Etin and team. And we go to the fifth presentation from Bu Ekawati, Bu Sri Handayani, and Bu Fadilah and Pak Tukiran.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Introduce my name, Ekwati. We take the title in full paper is Increasing Student Interest and Learning Outcome in Social Sciences subject using the cooperative learning method. Contextual teaching and learning or CTL. Contextual teaching and learning or CTL is a learning concept that help to teacher relate the material they learn to students' real-world situation and encourages students to make connection between their knowledge and its application in everyday life. The benefits of contextual teaching and learning are the benefits of learning. The contextual teaching and learning model are training students to be able to think critically according to students' real world situation, inviting students to an activity that relates material to the application of daily activities. 7 steps in learning CTL. 1. Develop independent learning methods. 2. Carry out the discovery or inquiry. 3. Cultivate student curiosity. 4. Creating a learning community. 5. Present model in learning. 6. Do reflection at the end of each meeting. 7. Do a real assessment. The most important components of contextual learning are based on the explanation above. It can be concluded that the components of the contextual learning method are constructive vision, finding, asking questions, learning communities, modeling, reflection, and actual assessment. Research methods, the framework of thinking that can be made based on the theoretical framework that the cooperative learning methods emphasizes the best. The research seeks to solve the problem to achieve optimal research, and the researcher use learning methods that can stimulate student activity. Research result and discussion. Based on the theoretical framework and frame of mind, the research determines the cooperative learning method can increase student interest and learning outcome. With the action hypothesis set, the little increasing student interest and learning outcome in social sciences subject using cooperative learning methods. Natural appearance and social condition of Southeast Asian countries at SD Negeri Kaung Carang, UPK Sumbang. Conclusion. It can be concluded that the goal of improving learning about increasing interest and learning outcome in social studies subject using the cooperative learning method can be completed. The improvement of education ends in the second cycle. Thank you.
Thank you to Bu Ekowati, Bu Sri Handayani, Bu Fadila, and Pak Tukiran. Okay, we have finished 5 presentations, and I haven't found any questions in the chat box. So, shall we continue? If there is no question, okay. uh, Mas Lukni. So we will continue for the next 5 presenters from presentation 6 to presentation 10. The first second, that is the sixth presentation, is from uh, Ibu Fadila, Bu Handayani, Bu Ekawati, and Pak Yahya Sudarya, with the topic or the title, Snowball Throwing Implementation in Social Studies Learning. Okay, Pak Lukni, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Fadila, and today I will present my journal about snowball throwing implementation in social studies learning. First, I'd like to introduce you about the background to make this journal. My friend and I started the research based on the problem in the class that we found related to social studies learning. Namely, social studies learning material are too difficult because they require high memory and student lack of interest in learning social studies. These two problems make the value of student learning outcomes in social studies subject is low. Based on these problems, we took the initiative to present learning that is more effective and attracts students' interest in learning, namely the snowball throwing method. Snowball throwing is a learning method where students are invited to learn while playing, so that learning becomes more interesting and not boring. The learning steps with the snowball throwing method are as follows. At the beginning, students are divided into small groups. Then, each group makes different questions according to the predetermined topic on a piece of paper, which is then rolled into the small ball. Afterward, the student threw the small paper ball to their friend from a different groups. And the last, the student who gets the paper ball must answer the question. If the answer is correct, then the group gets 10 points. But if it is wrong, then the group gets 0 points. Research method. This research was conducted at SD Negeri 3 Banteran. In particular, the research was conducted on students of grade 6. There are two data sources in this study, namely primary data source or subjects and secondary data source or objects. The primary data source or subjects is in the form of learning research in the subject matter of the natural appearance of neighboring countries. The learning outcomes are in the form of test score at the end of each cycle. Meanwhile, secondary data in this study of the result of observation made by writer when learning activities take place. The techniques used to collect the data above are test and non-test, which include observation and documentation. The data analysis method of this research is quantitative and qualitative data. The quantitative data use a comparative descriptive analysis, comparing the initial condition values, the test score after the first cycle, and the test score after the second cycle. At the same time, the qualitative data is found on the result of the observation and reflection from each cycle. The criterion for success in this study is if the number of students who could score according to the KKM more than equal to 70 and the class reached 85%, approximately 35 students. This research was conducted in two cycles. Each cycle with four steps, namely planning, action, observation, and reflection. Each cycle has two meeting themes. Thus, it is done repeatedly or the number of cycles carried out in this study in two cycles. The action process on the second cycle is a continuous of the first cycle. Things that were not suitable in cycle 1 were corrected in cycle 2. Results. After the research in cycle 1 was carried out, the results were obtained as shown in the table of learning outcome in cycle 1. Then the research was continued in cycle 2 to increase the writer confidence in the success of the method used, then obtained the value of learning outcome as shown in the table of learning outcome in cycle 2. While the learning outcome in the initial condition can be seen in the bar chart as follows. Based on the result of observation made by writer on the initial condition, the end condition of the first cycle until the end of the second cycle, there was an increase in the average value of learning outcome continuously. As shown in the following table in the table, the average value of student learning outcomes in the initial condition, the average class in 55 with an increase of 5%. After the action in cycle 1, the average class has increased to 73 with an increase of 33%. Then learning is carried out in cycle 2 with increase in class average to 83, percentage increase 14%. More detailed step-by-step improvement can be seen in the graph of the average value of the following learning outcomes. Thus, it can be concluded that the snowball throwing method is proven to improve student learning outcomes for social studies subjects. Last, I will close this presentation with special thanks. We thank Mr. Dr. Subuh Anggoro as head the Master Department of Primary School Teacher Education of the Muhammadiyah University of Purwokerto. We also thank Mr. Dr. Haji Yahya Sudaria, MPD, as a lecturer on our research who has patiently provided suggestion and correction for our research. With the guidance of both of them, this research article can be carried out. I think enough from my team and I. Thank you for your attention.
Okay. Thank you very much for Bu Bu Fadilah, Bu Sri Handayani, Bu Ekawati, dan Pak Yahya Sudaria. And we proceed to the next presenter, the seventh presenter, that is from Bu Ferry Andriani and Pak Ahmad Jazuli. Please.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. I would like to say thank you for coming to my presentation. I will glad to see you all. I hope you all in a good condition and stay healthy. Amin. Let me introduce myself. My name is Ferry Andriani and I am from Universitas Muhammadiyah Purwokerto, Indonesia. Okay, my friends, in this presentation, I will discuss about the influence of contextual discovery on student independence and contextual. Let's start our presentation by saying Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First, I would like talking about introduction. According Bicknell, House and Hoffman 2000, discovery learning is a learning model that trains students to learn independently to improve their cognitive skill and processes. Learning model involving to active participation of students in observing, formulate, classify, make conjectures, explain, and draw conclusions that encourage depending, independence concept in the learning process. According Kubi 2002 in page 5019, contextual is derived from the word context, which means relationship, context, atmosphere, and circumstance. Sudiono, according Sudiono, 2011, in page 19, comprehension is the ability of a person to understand something, and after that it is know and remember. And then research and methodology. The type of the research is experimental research, with its research method used to end and the influence of specific treatment on other in controlled condition. According Sugiono 2019. In the experimental study, research divided the subject of the study subject into two groups, namely the experimental group and the control group. Both groups were treated differently. In this study, the experimental group obtained learning with the guided discovery learning model, while the control group obtained learning used the expository model. According to Sukardi, 2009, research design is all the necessary processes in the planning and the implementation of research. The research use a quantitative research approach and a quasi-experimental design form. Next, result and discussion. The result of the analysis of several exciting research that contextual but discovery learning can affect the independence of learning and understanding of students. The last conclusion. From the result and discussion, we can conclude that the result of the analysis research that contextual-based discovery learning can affect the independence of learning and understanding of students. That's all my presentation today. All those we have start be beneficial from all of us. Thank you very much for your great attention, ladies.
Thank you very much for Bu Ferry for Bu Ferry and Pak Ahmad Jazuli. And we go to the sixth presenter. That is Bu Anggraini Dwi Ratnasari and Bu Ristiana Diah Purwandari. For the questions, we will discuss it after the 10th presentation. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Anggraini Dwi Ratnasari from Muhammadiyah University Purwokerto, Central Java, Indonesia, major in basic education. I would like to present my journal by the title, The Effectiveness of SAFI Model, Somatic Auditory Visualization and Intellectually on Science Thematic Learning Towards Student Learning Autonomy at State Elementary School, Sidanegara 5 of Cilacap. Introduction. Learning during the COVID-19. With the issuance of the circular letter of the Minister of Education and Culture number 36962 MPKA HK 2020, it is emphasized that online learning and working from home are implemented in order to prevent the spread of coronavirus disease. Learning autonomy. Autonomy is usually characterized by several characteristics, including the ability of determine on destiny, creativity and initiative, regulating behavior, responsibility, ability to restrain oneself, make own decisions, and the ability to solve problems without the influence of others. According to Desmita 2009, learning autonomy is the attitude of the student who have the desire to compete, to move forward for the good of themselves, to be able to take decision of initiative, to address to the problem being faced, to have confidence in the performance of a given task, and is responsible for what they did. Kusumawati 2014 stated that self-learning is one of the learning by emphasizing the meaning of learning through listening and scrutinizing, speaking, arguing, starting opinion, responding, and critical thinking activities to increase the concentration of the mind through reasoning, investigation, identification, and problem solving. The SAFI learning model is a learning by involving the sense in the body, utilizing them as much as possible. Thus, make the whole body or mind involved in the learning process. Mayer 2005. Applying SAFI model in the thematic science learning is expected to develop a student-centered learning model. Students are not only asked to listen to the teacher explanation, but also move in group, listen, talk, see, observe to find a solution to a problem. Students are also trained to be sensitive to their social environment in the hope of being able to find solution to this problem. Methodology. The method used in this research was an environmental method in this form of free experimental design. In this experimental design, there is no control variable, no control class, and it is not chosen at random. Student learning autonomy referred to in this study in the score achieved by students after the learning process with the SAFI model. Learning autonomy can be seen from the questionnaire scores given by the researcher. The criterion for scoring the questionnaire is as follows: autonomous score, equal, obtained score, derived, ideal score, Stein, 100%. After validity and reliability tests on the autonomous questionnaire data, which will be analyzed solves the prerequisite, namely the normality test and homogeneity test. Based on the result of calculation table of validity and reliability test, to the pretest column of autonomy obtained, the asymmetric value was 0.638. This value is bigger than the value of alpha equals 0.05. So it was concluded that the pretest data on learning to write poetry came from population data which was normally distributed. Based on the result of calculation table of validity and reliability test in the post-test column, obtained the asymmetric value is 0.448. This value is bigger than the value of alpha equals 0.05. So it was concluded that the post-test data on learning to write poetry came from population data which is normal distributed. From the table of pirate sample test, it can be explained that the result of the count of autonomy was 24.067. The t-table with df was 25 and a significant level of 0.05 was 1.708. Thus, the t-count was bigger than t-table. HO was rejected and HA was accepted. It means that there was difference in the average of student autonomy with self-learning model in science thematic learning of State Elementary School, Sitanegara 5 of Cilacap. The results showed that there were differences in the average of student autonomy with self-learning model in science thematic learning of State Elementary School, Sitanegara 5 of Cilacap. It was shown by obtaining result of statistical data processing using the SPSS program. Based on the result of the calculation, it was obtained that the count there was autonomy was 24.067, while the table value at a significant level of 95%. Showed a figure of 1.780, so the t-count value less than t-table. Thus, self-savvy learning model can increase the average of student autonomy. Conclusion. Number one, learning method of lecture, discussion, and assignment in class 6 of State Elementary School Sitanegara 5 can increase student learning autonomy on science thematic material. This increase needs to be done in the variety of ways, namely combining various methods of lecture, discussion, and assignments. Number two, the self-learning method in class 6 state of elementary school Sitanegara 5 can significantly increase student learning autonomy on science thematic material. This can be seen from the increase in this average independent score obtained from 590.8281 to 83.46, and the lowest score rose from 68.46 to 69.23, and the high score rose from 76.92 to 96.15. Number 3. There is a difference in the average student autonomy with Safi learning model in science thematic learning at State Elementary School Sitanegara 5 Cilacap. This can be seen from the acquisition of the count autonomy was 24.067, while the value of the table at a significant level of 95% shows a number of 1.780, shown the value of the account less than the table. Then the Safi learning model can increase the average of student autonomy. That's all my presentation. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for the team of Bu Anggreni Dwi Retnosari. And we go now to the ninth presentation. Presentation number 9 will be delivered by Bu Mega Permatasari, Bu Ina Kusuma Aryani, Bu Retno Purwaningsih, Bu Etin Agustini, and Bu Widianti.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, my name is Mega Permatasari. I am an elementary school teacher in SD Negeri Salarang 04 Cilacap, and also a student in postgraduate program Muhammadiyah University Purwokerto. I want to present my research about development of discovery learning models based on cultural value to improve student patriotism in class 5 SD Negeri Selarang 04 Cilacap. As an introduction, presence of technology makes a millennial generation live culture and religion values. With technology, the values that are planted in a child will also disappear following the flow of the millennial generation. The impact of technological developments has also resulted in the fading of the sense of the nationalism of law or love for the motherland by the community, especially among adolescents and the younger generation. Law number 20 of 2003 concerning the purpose of education in school, especially elementary school. Bloom, be quoted by Sujana, divides the types of learning outcome into 3, one of which is the affective domain, which relates to attitudes and values. The background of this research is the result of preliminary observation at SD Negeri Selarang 04 grade 5 show the learning methods used in the learning process are still mostly lecture methods, so that the student do not get their knowledge maximally. Completeness of new learning reached 43%. The teacher only prioritized understanding the concept. So it takes an interesting learning models and can increase the attitudes of patriotism. And one of the appropriate learning models is the discovery learning models. The aim of this study is, first, Describe the initial condition of learning with the theme of the beauty of diversity in my country in grade 5 SD Negeri Selarang 04 Cilacap. Second, planning the development of a discovery learning model based on cultural value in an effort to improve the character or of student patriotism in class 5 SD Negeri Selarang 04 Cilacap. Third, knowing the feasibility of using discovery learning models development based on cultural values in an effort to improve the character education of love for the country in class 5 SD Negeri Selarang 04 Cilacap. Fourth, to determine the effectiveness of using discovery learning models development based on cultural value into improve student patriotism in class 5 SD Negeri Selarang 04 Cilacap. 5. Describe the inhibiting and supporting factor of development of discovery learning models based on cultural values in an effort to improve student patriotism in class 5 SD Negeri Selarang 04 Cilacap. Let's continue to the method. 1. The research method are researchers used in research and development or R&D. 2. The subject of developmental research carried out by researcher was 5th grade student of SD Negeri Selarang 04 Cilacap for the 2020-2021 academic year. 3. The data collection technique used in development research were questionnaire, observation, and tests. The questionnaire used include the learning plan program assessment, student worksheet, and evaluation questionnaire, a questionnaire on the student patriotism, student response questionnaire, and learning activities implementation questionnaire. 4. The data were analyzed using qualitative and quantitative statistics. For the research design, the study used the development model of board and goal, which consists of 10 steps, which are described in figure number 1. Begin with the research and informal collecting, planning, develop preliminary form of product, preliminary field testing, main product revision, main field testing, operational product revision, operational fit testing, final product revision, dissemination, and implementation. The result of learning plan program validation by 2 validators are also presented in graphic form in figure 1 show. We can see from figure 1 that the result in the material expert validation have the highest average value in the content, and the 4 other aspect is the very good category and aspect for learning purpose, and the format in the format category is the good category. So that the result of this data indicate that the design of the learning plan program 1 has met the criteria for feasibility and validity. Apart from the expert basic, product validation for this learning model was also carried out by the classroom teacher. There are 2 classroom teachers who assist in conducting validation assessment with the aim of obtaining assessment and feedback on the learning plan program 1 developed. Desi Nur Cahyanti SPD and Ngamirotun SPD who serve as a classroom teacher. The validation result can be seen in figure 2. We can see that the result of the class teacher validation have the highest average score in the time management and for the lowest aspect in the format. The writing format needs to be edited again to make it fit and tidier. The other aspects are already in the very good category. So that the result of this data indicate that the design of the Learning Plan Program 1 has entered to appropriate and valid criteria. Meanwhile, the value of the love for the country is obtained from the result of filling out a questionnaire after the learning is complete. The questionnaire uses multiple choice question with a total of 10 items. The picture on the left is the result of the questionnaire score in the class. In this study, the analysis used was the one-factor ANOVA test. One way ANOVA analyze I am to compare the average value contained in the variables in all the groups being compared. The basis for decision making in ANOVA analysis is if the significance more than 0.05. The average value is the same. If the value is significance less than 0.05, the average value is different. Based on ANOVA output shown in the table 3, it is known that the significance value 0.000 is less than 0.05. So it can be concluded that the average value of the patriotism in control class and the experimental class is significantly different. So that the application of the discovery learning model based on cultural values can improve to student patriotism. Based on the result of research and development, we can conclude that first, the assessment of the feasibility of the discovery learning model based on cultural values is appropriate for learning because according to the expert assessment, it is the category of very good, and according to the assessment of the classroom teacher, it is the category of very good. Second, discovery learning model based on cultural values is able to improve student patriotism. This can be seen from the difference in the average value of the student patriotism in the experimental class and the cultural class. Third, the constraint in this development process is that not all regions have a verified learning culture like Jews near the researcher, so that each region can adjust the cultural resources that exist in the area. Fourth, the advantage of developing this learning model are using expert learning resource and having adequate facilities and infrastructure in the process of teaching and learning activities, namely a state of letter wayang and traditional gamelan. In addition, the learning contents encourage student patriotism, which is starting to disappear, and to love the Indonesian homeland, which is very relevant to the current condition. Okay, I would like to thank you for your time and attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, let us go to the 10th presentation of today from Pak Pratikno and Pak Wahudin. Okay. And the title is Strengthening Students' Independent Character through a Systematic Online Learning Model at SD Negeri Sidanegara 04, Cilacap.
Now, I will presentation from my paper, with title Strengthening Student Independent Character through a Systematic Online Learning Model at SD Negeri Sidanegara 4, Cilacap. Background from my paper is the impact of the circular of the Ministry of Education and Culture number 4 of 2020. Issued in learning that usually occurs face-to-face in the classroom switching to distance learning. Implementation distance learning that is required online because where school cannot bring students to school. So, that educator must be able to master the online learning application mode. The role of parent in learning assistant for student result in student becoming not independent. Many parents of SD Negeri Sidanegara for student complain that their son and doctor rely heavily on their parent in doing the task assigned by educator online. Goals: even though students should be independent in learning to overcome the negative impact of online learning. Educators must try to innovate existing learning models to strengthen the independent character of students. Research method. The method used in this research is an experimental method with a quasi-experimental design. Researchers use a quasi-experimental design, non-equivalent control group design. Result of the research, which comparing the pre-test and post-test result from the experimental group and the control group. Research result. The first, before the research was conducted, file permits were arranged, research proposals were made, and the research plan was disseminated to the school where the research was conducted. The second, preparation is instrumental, namely testing the validity and reliability of the instrument to be used. The second, instrument testing, which carried out before the instrument was used as a data collection tool. Before testing the instrument, it is first validated by an expert, and then testing the research instrument is carried out to students outside the population. The result of the instrument trial were then analyzed to determine the validity and reliability of the instrument. Third, the reliability test of the independent character questionnaire from on 25 item question declared valid. The reliability test is calculated using the Spearman-Brown formula. After calculating using SPS 25, the value is 0,846. Based on this data, the 25 items of the independent character questionnaire were declared reliable. For research data obtained from the test before being given treatment and data from the test result after treatment. The test questions are in the form of a questionnaire about independent character consisting of 25 questions in the format of Google Form. Result of the research in the form of pre-test and post-test values were explained in the data description for got the complete data. Descriptive statistic data from this research explained from the table. Okay. Independent t-test result using SPS 25 can we see from the table. The result independent character value explain that seek to tail value is 0,000. with significant level 0.05%. It means that seek-to-tailed values smaller from significant level can be concluded there is a significant difference in independent character strengthening with a systematic online learning model. Conclusion. The first, systematic online learning planning is carried out by making online learning schedule, making online learning role, mutually agreed upon with students, and making learning tools. The second, the implementation of the online learning model is by implementing online learning through online applications such as Google Meet or Zoom Meeting, creating a Google Classroom equipped with material, assignment, tests, and YouTube link related to learning material. Third, the impact of the online learning model based on the post-test result of the experimental class and the control class regarding the independent character of student. Throughout the t-test using SPSS 25 is that there is a difference between before treatment and after treatment in the experimental group based on the seek to tell 0,000 below the significant level of 0,05, which means that there is a significant difference between before and after treatment using a systematic online learning model. Based on the descriptive static data above, the average post-test result for the experimental. Thanks for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we have finished 10 presentations. And then there are 3 questions that I can see from the chat room. The first is from Bu Anggraini to Mr. Azhar. Mr. Azhar, are you there? Pak Azhar, I hope that you are there. The question is, please explain why this type of research is a quasi-experimental non-equivalent control group design type. That is the first question from Bu Anggreni to Mr. Azhar. Mr. Azhar, are you here? If not, we will go to the second question from Bu Widianti to Bu Etin, but apparently here the question is has been answered by Bu Etin in the chat room also. Finish there, and then we go to the third question from Bu Etin to Bu Mega. This is about explaining what is the difference between the discovery learning model that you develop and the learning that applied the same model before. So for Pak Azhar and Bu Mega, the floor is yours. Please answer the question. Are you there?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, good.
To answer the question from Mrs. Etin. Model based on cultural value is a learning model that emphasizes students to learn to find themselves by embedding cultural value in the surrounding community. In the development of the culture-based learning model is not just the transfer knowledge, but also transfer of value activity. Maybe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bu Mega. I hope that Bu Etin, Bu Etin,
Yes,
I hope that you're satisfied with the answer of Bu Mega.
yes.
Yeah, okay. And we are still waiting to Pak Azhar. Pak Azhar is still here or disappeared? Okay. Yeah, because we are just rushing because of the time. While we are waiting for Pak Azhar, we will proceed to the next term, the third term from 11th presentation to 15th presentation. And we will go to the 11th presentation from Pak Muhasin and Bu Ana Andriani about the discipline attitude of the 5th grade students of Brebek 01 Elementary School, Jeruk Legi in distance learning. Yeah, still connected to Mr. Edsel's presentation about the distance learning during this pandemic era. Okay, the floor is yours. Mas Lukni, please. I think Mas Lukni still dealing with the technical things. We are still waiting to the 11th presentation of Pak Muhasin and Bu Ana Andriani. While waiting for the operator to play the video, I would like to see. Okay. Not all of the presentation are from the not distance learning or pandemic era. Some of the presenters using the method of Safi learning. It's also interesting, and I think that you are all the teachers and you know the situation. So all of the presentations are interesting to see. Mr. Operator, we are waiting for you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everybody, my name is Mukasin. I am from Muhammadiyah Purwokerto University. In this time, I would like to present about my research entitled Utilization of WhatsApp groups in online learning to improve discipline of class 5 elementary school students. Okay, for the first, I would like to talk about introduction. There are several things that become the background of the problem in this research. They are first, basic education goals. The purpose of education is to grow students' physical and spiritual abilities. So the education is very important. Second, the importance of character education for elementary school students. Character education for elementary school students is very important as the basic of education for the future of their student. Third, advances in science and technology. Science and technology are developing rapidly, so we must be able to keep up with these developments. Four, distant learning. Distant learning requires knowledge and experience to be carried out probably. 5. The negative impact of distant learning. Learning use smartphone must negative impact. So, the teacher and parents must be able to work together. 6. The decline in student discipline in distant learning. Student discipline decreases because student and teacher don't meet in person in study. They are study in long distance. Okay, the research method. The research method used is a literature study. Literature study is a series of activities related to the method of collecting library data, reading and taking notes, and processing research material sourced from journals and articles that examine problems related to the problem to be solved. Data sort and data collection techniques. Data sort. The data used in this research is secondary data. Secondary data is data taken from book and journal written by previous researchers. And then data collection techniques. The data collection method used in this study is the documentation method, which is a systematic data collection procedure in reviewing the documents under study. Data analysis technique. The data analysis technique used in this research is the content analysis method. The process of the content analysis method is selecting, comparing, combining, and separating various opinions until relevant ones are found. Next, result and discussion. The result of the study saw that the WhatsApp group online study room can still be carried out. Second, WhatsApp groups are the most effective media for the learning process. Third, WhatsApp group is an easy to use medium and there is no time limit so that it greatly affects student discipline and responsibility. And fourth, WhatsApp groups have many advantages. The last is conclusion. Based on the result of the literature study, it can be concluded that the use of WhatsApp groups in distant learning is very helpful and facilitates learning to improve student discipline attitudes. The advantages of WhatsApp groups in learning are easy access, more flexible time, and easy to use. Okay, everybody, that are of the conclusion in this study. All right, everybody, that's all I can convey. If there are questions, criticism, or suggestion, I will be very happy. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Pak Muhasin will be happy if you have critics, he said, and then also questions. Now we go to the 12th presentation from Ibu Pariem, Pak Wahyudin, Pak Sugeng Darmadi, and Pak Subiarto, with the title The Effectiveness of Learning During the
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi
Pandemic.
wabarakatuh. My name is Pari.
Waalaikumsalam.
I will present a presentation about the effectiveness of learning during the pandemic. Introduction. The outbreak of the COVID-19 outbreak. The impact on the world of education includes things in the learning process, from face-to-face learning to online distance learning. Influence on learning effectiveness. Research method, observation, questionnaire, and also documentation. Discussion. Of the questionnaires that were filled out and sent by the teacher at the Pecawaran Banjarnegara Regional Coordinator. 36 people consisting of 29 teachers, 80.6%, and 7 principal, 19.4%, said that during the pandemic, all schools implemented home learning. The data obtained includes 1. From the data, 19 people, 52.x%, semi-online, 15 people, 41.7%, and offline learning, offline, for people, or 11.1%. 2. Wise tool use. 32 people, 88.9%, use cell phone as a tool in the implementation of learning. The rest use tablet and laptop. Connection use. 31 people, or 88.6%, cell phone internet. The rest use school Wi-Fi in public space, and subscribe internet network at home. 3. Preparation of learning material on home learning policies as follows. 19 people, 52.8% have a prepared lesson plan, and 17 people, 47.2% have not prepared lesson plan. This shows that is quite high, or almost 50% of teachers who carry out unplanned learning because they do not prepare lesson plan in their learning. Teachers' response about implementing college at home use online learning are only for people, or 11.1% said it's good. As many as 16 people, 44.4% say it's quite good. 13 people, or 36.1%, say it's not now good, and 3 people, 8.3%, said it was not good. The internet network, or an inadequate signal, is the first order of obstacle in online learning. As many as 22 people, or 61.1%. The next obstacle is that not all students have cell phone that can access internet. This answer is 19 people, or 52.8%. Conclusion. The level of learning effectiveness during the pandemic is not yet satisfactory. Competence of human resource that still need to be improved. Fulfillment of facilities and infrastructure, both device and network for online learning that must be evenly distributed. Learning during the pandemic is indeed not yet effective, but in the future, with various experiences that have been there, hopefully learning can be more carefully prepared, well organized, and effective in achieving its goal. Thanks for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And the conclusion is not that effective, right? Right, we go to the 13th presentation from Ibu Sari Pragawati.
Halo teman-teman, selamat datang di course HTTP, di mana di sini kita akan bahas ya detail tentang apa itu HTTP dan berkenalan langsung dengan HTTP itu sendiri. Oke, sebelum kita mulai ke materi, kita akan kenalan dulu ya. Jadi nama saya adalah Eko Kurniawan Kanedi. Saat ini saya kerja sebagai technical architect di salah satu e-commerce terbesar di Indonesia. Nah, saya sendiri sudah kerja lebih dari 10 tahun dan biasanya di sela-sela kesibukan saya bekerja, saya biasa menyempatkan diri ya berbagi konten soal programming di website Programmer Zaman Now atau di YouTube channel Programmer Zaman Now. Oke, kalau teman-teman ingin diskusi secara langsung dengan saya, teman-teman juga bisa lewat Telegram ya. Saya sering aktif di sana. Atau jangan lupa follow sosial medianya Programmer Zaman Now, ada di Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, dan juga ada di Telegram channel. Kalau teman-teman dari perusahaan teman-teman pengen diskusi misalnya atau butuh konsultasi, teman-teman bisa langsung email ke email pribadi saya di sini. Oke, agendanya apa sih? Jadi agendanya ini lumayan banyak ya, dan semuanya kita bahas detail tentang HTTP. Nanti kita akan berkenalan dengan HTTP itu apa, lalu teman-teman berkenalan dengan URL, dengan HTTP method, header, body, respon, cookie, dan semuanya masih banyak lagi materi tentang HTTP yang akan kita bahas. Oke, sepertinya nggak usah lama-lama ya intronya, kita akan langsung masuk ke materi.
Yeah, we cannot stop it. Mas Lukni.
Oke, sekarang kita akan berkenalan dulu dengan HTTP itu sendiri. HTTP itu singkatan dari Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Jadi HTTP itu singkatan.
Okay, thank you. And we will go to the next papers, the next presentation from Busari Pragawati, Pak Tukiran and Pak Wahyudin. Still about distance learning systems to grow students' learning discipline.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sari Bragawati Purwanegoro from Muhammadiyah University of Purwakarta in Central Java, Indonesia. Major in Basic of Education, I would like to present my journal by the title Discipline Analysis of Learning Through Distance Learning of Elementary School Students. The first, introduction. The learning system significantly changed due to pandemic COVID-19 from the interaction process of teacher and student directly into interaction in the network during or distant learning. The delivery of learning material or instruction from teacher becomes hampered and sometimes encounters misunderstanding of learners capturing learning material. Characters are influenced by built-in factor but very small percentage. Character can be formed and conditioned by someone, can be by teacher and school, parent, at home, or community environment. The method, the type of this research is field research. This research uses a qualitative approach. This study described an incident or discovery accompanied by data obtained in the field which aim to understand the cooperation of teachers and parents in the distant learning system to foster student learning discipline during the COVID-19 pandemic at the Donan 7 Elementary School, Central Cilacap District in Cilacap Regency. The area in this consider is at the Donan 7 Elementary School, Central Cilacap District in Cilacap Regency. Determination of informants is done employing a purposive method. Sources of information in this thing about our work and activities gotten from sources who are included within the investigate. In the interim, the informants in this study were the headmaster, teacher, parents of students in the lower class of elementary school, Donan 7. The question of this inquiry about is the collaboration between teacher and parent in cultivating student learning teach through distance learning. And then discussion, distance learning conducted online or remotely is expected to meet the standards of the educational process. Teacher and student can still connect with each other through the use of technology such as computer or gadget. And then character building, narration of character instruction projects the quality of use and instructive come about that lead to the accomplishment of the arrangement of character and respectable ethics of learners in a interactive, coordinated, and adjusted. Discussion about discipline. School can develop the discipline of learners through a series of educational processes of follow. Develop student positive thoughts and understanding and feeling about the benefit of discipline for self-development. Develop life skill learners in order to have discipline. Develop student positive understanding and feeling about the rules and benefit of obeying the rules in life. Develop the abilities of students to adjust healthily. Develop the ability of learners to develop internal control over behavior as the basis of disciplinary behavior. Become modeling and develop civility, creative, positive, and negative support component for teach authorization in school. And then fostering learning discipline, school spearheaded by the school with instructor searching for option and arrangement to fortify the relationship between family and school, such as assembly with guardians at the starting of the school year, particularly on the day of affirmation of UNICEF understudies. The last conclusion, number one, the form of cooperation between parent and teacher in improving student learning discipline in the lower class of state elementary school donut 7 during the COVID-19 pandemic is different from conventional learning as usual. Namely, there was intense communication from both parents and teacher in paying attention to the discipline of student learning. Two, the supporting factor of online learning in class of state elementary school donut 7 are lower. And then third, the barriers of online learning process include: one, there were still some parents who did not have Android mobile phone, so the could not join online learning. Two, some parents had problem. Those are lack of internet quota and signal that did not support learning online. Parent workload was too much at home, so the parent could not accompany their children in the online learning process optimally. That made some students wait until their parents finished their work, and most of teachers were not creative in teaching. And last, improving student learning discipline from the result of cooperation from teacher and parent was that students feel a change for their learning discipline. That's all my presentation. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. That's from Bu Sari Pragawati. And then we proceed to the 14th presentation from Ibu Siti Sahriah and Bapak Wahudin, with the title Improving the Ability to Design Core Activities in the Learning Process Through Academic Development for Teachers of SDN 4 Teluk Banyumas.
Hello everyone, my name is Siti Sahriah, and today I am going to share my article. Please wait. I will share the PowerPoint. My article entitled Improving the Ability to Design Core Activities in the Learning Process Through Academic development for teachers of Teluk for Elementary School, Banyumas. This presentation will present 5 subtopics. Please hold your question until of the end the presentation. First, I'd like to talk about subtopic 1. What is the research background? The research background is based on the result of the learning supervision that the author conducted on the teacher of Teluk for Elementary School. It proved that the ability of the teacher in the core activities contained in the learning implementation plan was still low. Okay, now I'd like to move on to subtopic 2, research purpose. The research purpose is the general objective in these studies is to improve the ability to design core activities in the learning process for teachers in South Purwokerto. The specific objective of this research is that through academic coaching, it can be improved the ability to design core activities in learning for teachers of Teluk for Elementary School. Then, I like to share about research action. Cycle 1, academic coaching is carried out in group. And cycle 2, academic coaching is carried out individually. And then, I like to talk about the result. The increase is 0.3, 8.82% from the initial condition average value of 3.4 to 3.7 at the end of the cycle 1. The increase in the ability to plan core activities in the learning process through individual academic coaching is even better, which is equal to 0.4, 10.81% from the average value of cycle 1, namely 3.7 to 4.1 at the average value of cycle 2. Lastly, I'd like to conclude this presentation by summarizing the information. The conclusion of this research is academic coaching can be improved the ability to design core activities in the learning process for Teluk for Elementary School teachers. Everyone, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Send question to my WhatsApp as shown on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Siti Sahria. And Bu Siti Sahria is ready to be asked via WhatsApp. Is that so? we have one question here, but we still have one presentation before we answer the question. We go to the 15th presentation from Ibu Siti Yunia, Pak Yahya Sudarya, Bu Ina Kusuma, Aryani, Bu Popi Andi Utami, and Pak Maulana Bayu Isna Rofik. And the title is Pedagogic Competency Analysis of the Teachers and Learning Facilities Toward Learning Achievement in Elementary School Students. And we are still waiting for the playing of the video. Okay, here it is.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. First of all, let me introduce my name is Siti Yunia from Master of Basic Education, Muhammadiyah University of Purwokerto. On this occasion, I would like to thank for the time given to me to present this research article. And today, I'm going to give a presentation about analysis of teacher pedagogic competency and learning facilities to learning achievement in primary school students. The presentation will be in 4 parts, so I'm going to talk about introduction, research method, result and discussion, conclusion, and Q&A. Let's turn to introduction. As you can see, according to Muhibbin Shia in the Educational Psychology book, learning achievement is the level of student success in achieving the goal set in a program. To achieve optimal learning achievement, there are 2 factors in nuance, namely internal factors and external factors. Internal factors include psychological, and psychological maturity factors. In contrast, external factors include social factors such as family environment, school environment, community environment, group environment, cultural factors, biological environmental factors such as home facilities, learning facilities, climate, spiritual, environmental factors, or security. So from the things that have been explained, here I take 2 aspects that can affect student learning achievement, namely the influence of teacher competence and also the fulfillment of complete learning facilities. And here I will explain a little about the 3 variables of this research, namely about pedagogic competence, learning facilities, and learning achievement. The first is pedagogic competence. Educational competence is fundamental in deciding the victory of the learning prepare, which specifically touch learning capacities. In more detail, it explains the aspects of pedagogical competence that must be mastered by a teacher as follows: learning the characteristic student, curriculum development, educational learning activities, advancement of the potential of understudies, communication with understudies, and the last assessment and evaluation. The second is learning facilities. The facility is a means that facilitates or expedites in carrying out a task or job. Facilities, when connected with learning activities, are a means of facilitating and smoothing the teaching and learning process. Total office will back instructing and learning exercises to run easily so that learning goals can be suitably accomplished. The third is learning achievement. Learning achievement is the result obtained in the form of impression that result in change in individual resulting from. So now let's move on to the research method. The study is a study using the method systematic literature review. The research began by looking for articles related to the research topic to be carried out. In this case, we will explain some of the steps taken. First, researchers collect journal article on the database Google Scholar. The second, the article collected were only articles published in the period 2014 to 2021. The third, from the various articles, researchers select 15 pieces from accredited national journals that were closely related to the keyword used. After that, the researchers review and analyze the article in depth, especially regarding the research results present in the discussion and conclusion section. Now let's talk about research result and discussion. In this step, the researcher's classification articles relate to the variable. The metadata of the article is tabulated in a table that includes the author name and the year, the name of the journal, the type of research, and the research result. Thus, based on the comes about of the inquiry about that has been carried out as recorded in Table 1, the effect of the implementation of teacher pedagogical competence and the utilization of learning facilities in the learning process can describe the quality of learning carried out by the teacher and make learning more interactive and fun, because it has taken advantage of the available learning facilities. Now let's move on to conclusion. Okay, in conclusion, let me sum up the main points. As you can see, based on the comes about of the examination and discourse, it can be concluded that there are noteworthy impact between educator educational competence and the presence of learning office on understudy accomplishment, so that by mastering the competence standard and essential competence of the subject being taught, so that by acing the competency measure and basic competence of the subject being instructed, and creating the subject matter that's being instructed inventively, and using more varied learning models and methods. That's all I have to say about this research article. Thank you so much for the time.
All right, thank you very much for Bu Siti Yunia and Tim. And we have finished 15 presentation, and I have here in the chat box one question from Pak Trisno Yuwono to Pak Muhasin. The question is, what do you think about WhatsApp group in the long distance learning? I think the effectiveness of WhatsApp group. Yeah. To Pak Muhasin, are you still here? Your friend, Pak
Yes,
Trisno
thank you.
Yuwono. Yeah, okay. Okay, the floor is yours.
Yes, okay. Thank you for Mas Trisno Yono. It's good questions. Okay, I will to try to answer the questions that I think about WhatsApp group is a very simple application. All of the students use this application. Yeah, there are many kinds of surplus that use WhatsApp group, like cheap cost in study, easy accession. The time is for flexible. Yeah. It can use in every time and everywhere. And also WhatsApp group is easily to use. Okay, that is about a WhatsApp group is very simple in use, especially in elementary school. So that it is very good choice to use in long distance study in elementary school. Okay, that is my opinion about WhatsApp group in long distance. I think that Mas Trisno, I hope you like with my answer. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Pak Muhasin, thank you very much for the answer. And then true that the WhatsApp is the most simple one that we can use. Right, Pak Trisno Yono, I hope that you are satisfied with the answer of Pak Muhasin. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we go to the fourth or the last term of our presentation today for the last 5 speakers from the 16th to 20th speaker. And I will welcome the 16th speaker, that is Pak Subiarto and Pak Wahyudin, with the title of the Presentation, critical analysis of the role of teacher and parents to improve the character of students' discipline again. Okay, the floor is yours. We are still waiting for the playing of the video. And this time from 16 to 20. Okay. There's still one topic about online learning, and then the other is critical analysis of the role of teachers, and then social identity and local wisdom, and also the analysis of economic life of the parents. There are so many issues in basic educations, right? Because we do not only talk about this, the students, teachers, but also all of the environment that is surround them. We are still waiting to Mas Lukni, the operator, Mr. Operator, to play the video first. Number 16. Yeah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, nice to meet you all. My name is Subiarto. I am from Muhammadiyah Purwokerto University. In this presentation, I am to discuss about my presentation, the role of teacher in improving the discipline character of student. Now, I will divide my presentation into 4 sections. Let's start from first section about introduction. Character education is very essential to students to recognize educational goal and shape the character of student to become mature individual. One character value that need to be developed for student is the character of discipline. Discipline is an activity at show systemic conduct and complies with different standards and guidelines. It is taken from Mustari 2040. Through strengthening the character of discipline, it is hoped that a future generation of young generation who are knowledgeable, cultural, moral, and civil will be born in the globalization era. The objective of the research is to study and disable to the role of the teacher in improving the character of disciplined students. Let's march to the next section about research method. The research used was qualitative research, wide descriptive analysis of the case study method. The research subject we, the principal, teacher, and student. Data collection technique use are interview, observation, and documentation. Then I will explain about discuss the role of teacher in character building discipline student. Teacher as educator or teacher become role model for student and the environment. Taken from Mulyasha 2011. Teacher is an instructor, namely teacher carry out their duties in planning and implementing learning at school. And then the teacher as guide is the teacher who guides students to have good attitude and behavior. The next, the teacher as a trainer is a teacher who produces a skill or expertise that is true to student, and the more in this is more directed at studies schemata. The role of the teacher as a role model is very vital to shape the character of the student. The last one, the role of teacher evaluator. Teacher evaluate the implemented and result of discipline character. The goal in the formation of discipline character. The character's goal is for the benefit of integral individual growth. For students to become disciplined children both at school and at home. The method of character building student can be carried out using the method of habitation, exemplary, lectures, and simulation. Take from Rahmat 2007. The implementation of discipline character education can be carried out through several policies. The character building program for students at school is recognized through intracurricular and extracurricular activities. The result of the implementation of disciplinary character for students can be shown from the change in the attitude and behavior. The daily program implemented so that children are trained to act disciplined. It is evident by file when I come to school, discipline in doing assignment extra. The enthusiasm of students toward program in fostering the disciplinary character of students, success 5S, habitation, smile, greeting, cut, research, full, and courtesy. Exemplary is related to daily activities in the school environment such as exemplary behavior, telling stories, attitude, etc. So that my presentation, the conclusion. The role of teacher in the character building of student discipline is a teacher, an educator, an instructor, a guide, a trainer, and a teacher as an evaluator. Each teacher has implemented the 5 aspects of the teacher function properly. The teacher for in shaping student character are using the method of habitation, exemplary, lecture, and simulation. The students have seen change in the attitude and behavior that reflects the character of discipline. Thank you very much for your great attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Pak Subiarto. And now we just go to the 17th presentation.
No en cuanto a fútbol, que está un poquito más lejos, pero sí en cuanto a importancia, en cuanto a resultados. Y de momento se ha metido en la semifinal. Y enfrente otro de los grandes, Uruguay, con 2 títulos mundiales, que quiere jugar la final. Es el único equipo.
Yeah, okay. The 17th presentation is from Pak Sudaryono, Bu Ine Kusuma Aryani, Bu Aan Titik Trianto, and Bu Yani Setyaningsih, with the title Critical Analysis again of Teacher Performance Ethos in an Effort to Improve Disciplinary Character of Elementary School Students.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for following my presentation today. My name is Sudaryono from Muhammadiyah University, Purwokerto. And today I will to talk about school policy and student discipline character by the article title, namely School in Improving Discipline Character of Elementary School Student. Introduction. First, a character building must be done early. Character building must be carried out early as possible, starting from the family environment, school, and extending to the community. Second, the character of discipline very important for human. Discipline character is the beginning of other good character, attitude, or value. Installing the right discipline will result in the formation of good behavior in children. Third, strengthening character education has not yet reached the implementation stage, namely action and behavior. Teaching character education reaches the stage of knowledge that will cause this problem for us. Lastly is, in the school environment, there are still much undisciplined behavior. Example, coming to school not on time, a problem that occur in the implementation of strengthening character education are shown by the undisciplined behavior of students in school. Research purposes. The purpose of writing this article is to describe whole policies that can improve student discipline. A research method. A literature study. The method used is a literature study by collecting information from various library sources. All data obtained were then compiled, analyzed, and then concluded to obtain conclusion regarding the theme of the literature study. Secondary data. That is data from research by previous researchers. Information obtained from various library sources is collected as documentation. The formulation of the problem is answered by digging up information from various sources that have been collected. Discussion. The policy is an action to solve a problem. The policy can also be referred to as a series of actions as a direction to achieve goal, principally plan, and important role in a school policy from all stages of the learning process in school. A character is a person's natural attitude. The character distinguishes him from others. Character is a special personality, which is the driving force and distinguishes it from other individuals. Discipline is acting according to the rule. Discipline, the character is personality, behavior, character, and character in a situation where something is in unorderly, orderly, and improper state, and there are no violations either directly or indirectly. School policies can affect student discipline. The habituation and character of student discipline can be instilled through habituation activities. There are routinely carried out. Routine activities are carried out so that students are accustomed to implementing school rules. By habituation of students conditioned to the rules and schedule of school activities. Conclusion. I'd like to conclusion today's presentation by summarizing the information. First, school policies must be drawn up through a clear plan. Second, in implementing school policies, it is necessary to have support from all school members. And third, in its implementation also needs strong consistency from all school members. This is your presentation. Sorry for any shortcoming. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for Pak Sudaryono and team. And we go straight to the 18th presentation from Pak Bayu Sutawardianto and Pak Furkono Aziz with the topic social identity and local wisdom in the collection of short stories Selurit Hujan Panas by Zainul Mutakin as a teaching material literature in high school. Okay. The floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good night, everybody. Best wishes to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bayu Sutawardianto. I am a master student of Indonesian Language and Literature Education at Muhammadiyah University of Purwokerto. On this occasion, I will present to result my result and title Social Identity and Local Wisdom in the collection of Selurit Hujan Panas, short stories by Zainul Mutakin as a literary teaching material in high school. This research is based on the riches of literature in Indonesia that contains social and cultural elements. Well, will the future discuss in introduction and background of this study. This an introduction, literature becomes a unique treasure that contains social and cultural pragmatics and wants so that it can be found the value of social identity and local diversity in the social and cultural produced by this literature. Finally, was the born the approach of sociology and anthropology of literature. For example, this literary work containing social and cultural element is a collection of short story Curit Hujan Panas by Zainal Muttaqin. In this collection of short story, in addition to discussing social and cultural issue, it can also be used literary teaching material used at the high school level. And this research objective, this study aims to describe the value of social identity and local wisdom in Zainal Muttaqin collection of short stories, Curit Hujan Panas, and make it as an additional literary teaching material in high school. Furthermore, the method used in the study use qualitative method descriptive with content analysis technique to the examine element of social identity and local wisdom content in the collection of of short stories. The analysis process conduction in this study with 3 steps. Step 1, data collection. Step 2, data reduction. And step 3, data presentation. Data collection in this study was conducted by searching of digging excerpt in the form a sentence or dialogues that contain element of social identity or local wisdom that will later become data or object in this study. And as a result, the object of research in this study is the book of short stories entitled Curit Hujan Panas by Zainal Muttaqin, the published by Gramedia Pustaka Utama in years 2019. Next is the result discussion. Here I show the data that I obtained from the reading of the search of the research object and associated them with the key theories used. Result and discussion. Social identity in the book is social structure, and 2, social behavior, and 3, ontological definition. Then the value of legal wisdom include number 1, culture, 2, belief, and 3, social values. And this table 1, number of social identity and local wisdom, the collection of short story Curit Hujan Panas by Zainal Muttaqin. This number 1, social structure, amount of 7 data, social behavior, amount of 12 data, ontological definition, amount of 4 data. Amount of data of social identity, 23 data. Value of local wisdom, and number 1, culture, amount of 7 data, belief in 9 data, social values, and 6 data. Amount of data of local wisdom, the 22 data. Then, here will I show the relationship between the result of the analysis object and the acquisition of teaching material based on relating aspect. Social identity in the collection of short story on the value of social identity contained in the collection of short story, the element social behaviors in the most many of the other element. Social behavior is a view of one's assessment according of his behavior in accordance with the norm in his group. Gideon 91. The social behavior becomes an identity that indicates a particular community. Social behavior depicted in the form of matchmaking, underestimate education for women, and also carried off Charok to maintain its dignity. Next, local wisdom in the collection of short story Curit Hujan Panas by Zainal Mutakin. On the value of a local wisdom in the short stories, the value of trust become the majority data point. Belief is an element consisting of might, mantras, and also certain religious belief. Belief is a spiritual rule of a concept that is believed by an individual or a group of people. This belief in certain belief can serve as reserve proof or rule placed down and traditionality practice. Hasanuddin, 2015. This belief become of dominant data in local wisdom because the society depicted in the story is still tied to myths and also things outside of rationality and their daily lives. And the conclusion is, then here I will show the relationship between data that obtained from the reading of the research object and associated them with the key theory result. From the result of the analysis that has been done towards collection of short stories, but adjustment from the three aspects that will affect the academic teaching material that will be used learning. Element of the selection of teaching material will be described as follows. Table 2, literary teaching material. Result of analysis and collection of short story Curit Hujan Panas by Zainal Mutakin, and 3 aspect literary teaching material. Number 1, aspect of linguistic. Aspect 2, aspect psychological, and aspect 3 is a background culture. And the conclusion, based on discussion and analysis, consisted of collection of short story, found data containing elements social identity and local wisdom, strength and peculiarities of the community in Madura. In addition, local wisdom found in short story contained in there and even found elsewhere. The value of social identity and knowledge included in collection of story can be used academic teaching material in high school by paying attention of 3 aspects and selection academic teaching material, so that scholarly teaching material made into literary teaching material and effective in increasing student interest in literary work. Okay, more of participation. Hopeful what I cover can be useful to enrich the learning of literature in high school. Perhaps there are questions of statement I please in the discussion time has been provided. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the presentation from Bayu Setawardianto about the local wisdom that is implied in the literary works. Interesting. Number 19, we will go to the next presentation from Pak Trisno Yuwono and Bu Ana Andriani with the topic Analysis Economic Life of Parents to the Students' Learning Motivation of Class 5 or 5th grade of SD Negeri Sawangan 02 Jeruk Legi. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Introduction. My name is Krishno Yuwono. I am a student at Muhammadiyah University of Purwokerto. I live in Sampang, Cilacap. And now I will present the material on analysis of elementary school student learning activities in online learning in the pandemic period. This presentation will be divided into 4 parts, namely, the first, introduction, the second, research method, the third, research and discussion, and the fourth, conclusion. Let's start today's presentation by reciting basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the first I'd like to talk about introduction. There are several things that become the background of the problem in this research, including first, government regulation regarding in the implementation of learning during the COVID-19 pandemic. Circular letter number 4 of 2003 that March 24, 2020. The second, distance learning for elementary school students. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a tremendous impact on all aspects of life, especially in education. Third, advance in science and technology. Science and technology are indispensable to facilitate distance learning during the pandemic. Fourth, student learning activities. Student learning activities is one of the important factors in the teaching and learning process. Fifth, discourage student creativity in distance learning. The second, I will talk about research method. This research use literature study method. Literature study is a method by reviewing various journals and books that have a relationship with the problem that we are going to study. Data source and data collection technique. The data used in this study is data sourced from existing book and journal. Data collection technique, documentation method was used to collect data in this study. The procedure used is to find data about things or variable in the form of note, books, paper or article, journal, and news. Data analysis technique. The data analysis technique used in this research in the content analysis method. The process of the content analysis method is selecting, comparing, combining and separating various opinions until the relevant or ones are found. The third, I will talk about the research and discussion. The results of the study show that first, the results of the study based on the collected data show that online learning will have a positive impact. Second, learning activities can run well and effectively in accordance with the creativity of the teacher in providing material and practice questions. Third, the use of quiz educational game media can increase student activity. The next, online learning that is packaged with inappropriate learning model or method can make student understanding of the material very lacking. Fifth, There are 6 factors that increase student learning activity. 6 factors influence learning activities. 1. There is student involvement physically, mentally, emotionally, and intellectually in every learning process. 2. Student learning directly, experiential learning. 3. There is a desire of students of create and conductive learning climate. 4. The influence of students in finding and utilizing every available learning research that is considered relevant to the learning objectives. 5. The existence of student involvement in initiatives. 6. The occurrence of interaction from various directions, both between student and student or between teacher and student. The last is the conclusion. Based on the literature review and the results of the later study, it can be concluded that student learning activity during the pandemic is influenced by several factors, namely teacher, parents, and students. The teacher factor is that the teacher is less creative in determining learning method and media. People factor, namely lack of motivation to student, no learning facilities, and lack of cooperation with teacher. Student factor, namely socio-economic background. Students are less enthusiastic in learning. All right, that's all I can say. If there are questions, criticism, or suggestion, I will be very happy. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Pak Trisno Yuwono and Bu Ana Andriani. That they welcome to your suggestion, criticism, and they will be very happy, they said. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the last presentation. That is the 20th presentation of today. By Ibu Widianti, Pak Yahya Sudarya, Pak Bakhtiar Yusuf, Pak Bu Retno Purwaningsih, and Bu Siti Wijayanti. We still welcome to those who wants to ask the questions. Okay.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I would like to say thank you for coming to my presentation. It's great to see you all. Let me introduce myself and my partner. I am Widianti from Kutawaruwan State Elementary School, and my partners are Mr. Yahya Sudarya from Muhammadiyah Purwokerto University, Mr. Bahtiar Yusuf from Muhammadiyah 1 Purwokerto Junior High School, and Mrs. Retno Purwaningsih from Sawangan 2 State Elementary School. The purpose of this presentation is to describe the result of my research entitled The Influence of Online Learning and School Communication with Students to Improving Learning Achievement in Science Learning at Elementary State, Central Cilacap District, Cilacap Regency. The reason underlying this research is that the pedagogical competency standards of elementary class teachers are able to utilize information and communication technology for the benefit of learning. Learning is said to be in the method of giving direction or help to understudies in carrying out the learning handle. Online giveable learning strategies such as practicing with related input, combining collaborative exercise with free learning. Educational communication is an aspect of communication in the world of education or communication that occur in the field of education. Learning accomplishment is something that understudies ought to know the capacities they get from a movement called learning. In my research, I use methods are questionnaire, recording document, validity and reliability test, normality test, linearity test, regression test, the research variables, result analysis test, and hypothesis test. This research is a survey research with quantitative research approach. The population in this study were state elementary students in Cilacap Tengah District, Cilacap Regency, who came from 25 elementary schools. The samples taken in this research were 75 respondents. The subject in this consider were instructor and principal who teach at State Elementary School of Central Cilacap District in Cilacap Regency. The independent variable in this study is online learning or X1, school communication X2, while the dependent variable is learning achievement is Y. Result and discussion. Normality test. Based on normality test, that the SIG esteem for online learning 0.697, communication between teacher and student 0.280, and the SIG value of learning achievement 0.775 is greater than 0.05. This indicates that the data is normally distributed. The distribution of data that can represent the population so that it can be continued with parametric statistical analysis. Linearity test. The come about of linearity test on the online learning variable or X1 on the learning accomplishment variable or Y, it is known that the p-value is 0.078, which is greater than 0.05. This indicates that the variable online learning on learning achievement or X1 has a linear relationship. The result of the linearity test of the teacher communication with online student variable or X2 on the school achievement variable or Y, note that the p-value is 0.238, which is greater than 0.05. This indicates that the variable teacher-student communication on school achievement or X2, there is a linear relationship. Multiple regression analysis. Coefficient of determination test. The comes about of information examination with respect to the impact of online learning on learning accomplishment appear that the balance R-squared estimate is 0.182. This shows that the ability of online learning variable and teacher and student communication is explaining the learning achievement variable is 18.2%, while the remaining 81.8% is influenced by other variables not included in the study. For example, learning discipline, learning media, teaching method, curriculum readiness, learning motivation, parental participation, learning environment, school facilities and infrastructure, and so on, which were not examined in this study. And the last is hypothesis test. From the overall average of respondent answer to online learning variables are in the good category. It means that most teachers give good assessment to online learning variable in increasing student learning achievement. The better the online learning process in school, the increase in learning achievement will also be good. And the overall average of the respondents' answer to the school communication variable is in the good category, which means that most of the teachers give a good assessment that communication in learning between students and teacher is very important. The better the communication created between teacher and student, it will improve learning achievement. In conclusion, there is an effect of online learning and increasing learning achievement in science learning in elementary state of Central Cilacap District, Cilacap Regency. There is an effect of teacher and student communication on increasing learning achievement in learning science at elementary state of Central Cilacap District, Cilacap Regency. There is an effect of online learning, teacher and student communication on increasing learning achievement in learning science at elementary state of Central Cilacap District, Cilacap Regency. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Bu Widianti and team. And then apparently it is the last presentation of the whole presentation today, the 20 presentation. Something that I have to highlight here that the issue of COVID-19 pandemic and then the online learning are still dominating the papers. It is about the competence of human resource, the problem of internet connection, the discipline, whether it is effective or not, the online learning, and what tool to be used, what method, or there is no preparation of lesson plan of the teacher for online learning, just like explained by Mr. Edsel before that lesson plan should be changed again. So in spite of the big humbug of us to deal with online learning of new pandemic era, there are also still many problems, many issues that raised up in the basic education. The issues such as economic condition of the family, character building, discipline, multicultural issues, social identity, local wisdom, learning motivation, etc. Sorry, Mas Lutni, can you close the share screen?
Dari rumah, tetap semangat belajar, patuhi protokol kesehatan, dan selalu menjadi anak yang berprestasi.
Okay.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, Mas Lutni, can you close the screen, this share screen? Yeah, okay, so this is the end of our presentation. Thank you very much for all speakers for the active participation and great presentation. And then my deep appreciation goes to Mr. Edsel Coronedo, PhD, who has shared a valuable and beneficial knowledge for us. And I hope that we all can get the optimal benefit and knowledge from this conference. Okay, so I think although the screen is not off, share screen is not closed now, let us close this conference with by saying Hamdalah together. Alhamdulillah.
Thanks for all.
Thank you very much also. I am Nina Vivi Octavia. And then see you again. Thank you very much. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi
warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
Silakan nanti sertifikatnya dikirim ke email masing-masing. Saya izin live ya.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you next.
Thank you.
No, we are just close here. We will not back to main room. Yeah.